I'm also going to record the session, so we have it for students that were not able to come. So good morning, everybody. Good morning to our guests. Good morning to the students. So this is the seminar on informality, urbanism law in Peru. It's led by Samantha Saona and myself. Both of us are part of the research group CONURB at Catholic University. And this session, we have the pleasure to receive some guests from Brazil, specifically from the Federal University of Rio de Janeiro. So I'm going to make maybe just a brief introduction and maybe contextualization of our conversation, so we are somehow all in the same page. And then I'm going to give the word to our guests. So basically, we have this seminar that is mainly for undergraduate students in the schools of architecture and the School of Law. And we are having some conversations in relation to what urban informality entails for Latin American cities, but we are also wanting to compare the case and the experience from Peru to other countries. And I think the conversation with the experience of our guests in Brazil and specifically in Rio de Janeiro is going to be very interesting. And on the other side, we have the really nice opportunity. This is something that Bernardo and I were trying to find an opportunity since several months ago to have a conversation. So we have the pleasure to have the members of the Laboratory of Law and Urbanism, LADU, of the graduate program in urbanism at the Federal University of Rio de Janeiro. So we have with us here in the session, let me just open here the names. So we have as guests Bernardo Marques, who is a sociologist and a researcher at the Laboratory of Law and Urbanism, whom we have been coordinating and organizing this session. We have also Rosangela Calavazzi, who we were just introduced earlier today, who is the leader and the founder of the laboratory. So we're very happy to have you here. And we are going to have a couple of brief presentations of two researchers of the laboratory, Bárbara Fortes Campos, an architect and urban planner, and also Wallacy de Macêdo Coelho, who is also an architect and urban planner. So the idea is to have maybe a brief introduction, presentation of you of some of the work that we know that you are doing in relation to the city and the urbanism and the struggles or the problems or the challenges that Rio de Janeiro or Brazil has in relation to urban topics. We gave the students general introductory article about the process of urbanization or the history of urbanization in Rio de Janeiro over the 20th century. So we have some context, but it's going to be also nice to have some of the presentations, so we have some context, some detail on what you are working. And from there on, we want to have a very open conversation, perhaps with some questions by Samantha and me. And maybe from there, we can learn some things between each other. And as we were saying, hopefully this is just one first step to keep a conversation going between both the laboratory, our research group, and both of the universities. So that's basically the idea of the session. So with that, I maybe will give the space to you, Bernardo, or either maybe to you, Barbara, for you guys to make a presentation. And thank you again for making this time to connect to us.
First of all, I'd like to say thank you for the Professor Jose Carlos and Professor Samantha for the invitation. We are from the Law and the Urbanism Laboratory of the graduate program in the urbanism at the Federal University of Rio de Janeiro, as Jose Carlos said. My name is Bernardo Mercante Marques. I'm a sociologist, and I'm together with two other researchers, Barbara Campos and Wallacy Coelho, in this section, where we will analyze some aspects of urban informality from the of the city of the Rio de Janeiro. I would like to say, I also like to thank the presence of the Professor Rosangela Lunaderne Cavalazzi, who is the coordinator and the creator of our research lab, and she's a professor in the graduate program in urbanism and the Pontifical Catholic University of Rio de Janeiro. I would like to say that it's a big honor to be here and sharing our researches and we hope we can establish important bridge between our universities. I hope it is the first of much more meetings that we will have. Well, Barbara will start the presentation. Her research. She's researched a really important theme in the informality, the urban informality in Rio de Janeiro. That is that we call militia urbanism. It's a very important problem right now in the city, in the dynamic of the city of the Rio de Janeiro. And after Barbara, Wallace will present how other kind of research that he studied the collective formation of the landscapes in the Complexo de Maré. I don't know if you guys know, but it's one of the largest favelas in the Rio de Janeiro. Well, Barbara, if you like to present yourself and start. I will pass the PowerPoint and she will talk. Well, okay. Well, thank you so much to this opportunity to be here with you.
First of all, sorry for my late. I was trying to get in wrong meeting, but I'm here. Bernardo, can you start the presentation? So good morning, everyone. First of all, I would like to thank you for the invitation. So my name is Bárbara, and I'm a doctoral student in urbanism at the Federal University of Rio de Janeiro. Well, I'm going to present some of my thesis research history progress, which has as theme the appropriation of urban land and militias in the state of Rio de Janeiro. In this presentation, I will talk about what the militias are and how this phenomenon has dominated a large part of Rio de Janeiro. First, so we can understand the importance of the extension of this phenomenon in your territory, I brought this map of the state of Rio de Janeiro and some demographic information. Rio is one of the largest states in the country, both in population and economic importance. We have about 70 million inhabitants in the state and more than 60 million in the capital. And Rio de Janeiro is the second last economy in the country. So it is this context that militias develop. Well, so the militia is described as a parastate group made up of retired or active police officer, firemen, or others that control poor communities through the coercion. These groups have already domination a large part of the slums, of the favelas, and they place themselves in these places as an alternative to drug trade. They enter in these communities with the promise of protecting them from the violence of the drug trade. And once in these communities, they develop numerous other commercial activities, such as the sale of gas, the provision of internet, the cable TV, public transportation, and real estate and housing developments. And besides an economic function, this dominance also established a control of the votes of those communities. So the militias managed to elect several of their representatives in the public powers. In this map, we have in red the places where the militia is present. In survey, this survey was produced in 2008. And to realize the great expansion of this group in the city, this table shows a comparison of the militias present between 2008 and 2020. In the 18,000, 37 neighborhoods in the metropolitan region was dominated by militias. In 22,000, this number rise to 199. In 18,000, this represented a population of 2 million inhabitants. Today, it represents more than 3 million. So the emergence of these groups, briefly, took place in the 50s when the police chiefs created a group to execute criminals. These groups became known as death squads, and after sometimes began to provide security for some neighborhoods in the periphery. So this organization model that gave birth to the militias. A model that emerges as an action of the public powers and continues to stabilize our relationship with it until today. This image is from a protest after the death of the councilwoman Marielle Franco, that was killed by the militia. Then, from the sale of the security, the militias began to develop several other economic activities. And today, the real estate market is one of the main sources of profit. Through the illicit appropriation of urban land, they building houses, building other real estate developments. This photo on the right shows the growth of Rio das Pedras neighborhood. There is a region dominated by militia. This forest is between 2003 and 2008. And this entire region is a public land, and the good part of it is also an environment preservation area. It is important too to say that not all these buildings are owned by militia, but all are subject to the rules and fees of the militia. So, to demonstrate the real estate activity of these groups, this map shows the legalized constructions between the years of 2009 and 2020, where militias are present. In the darkest green are the areas with most real estate activity, and it is exactly where we have the most blue dots, which represents the militia. This shows that currently those are the most development of the real estate activity in Rio, in the city of Rio, are the militia. Finally, it's also important to highlight how the activities of public authorities favor the growth of this group. On this map, we can have where the police operation carried out in the city. We can see that in the lighter green, where there are fewer operations, is also where the blue dots are, the militia. And we see that this type of action indicates a favoring of these groups because they don't have any financial losers, neither in weapons, nor in members, nor even the economic activities. In other words, the favor and presence of state agents is also one of the pillars of the development of these groups. And is that the presentation? If somebody has some questions and doubt, here.
I don't know if I think it's a good. We pass. Wallace is here right now. We pass the presentation, and after we can make a round of questions. Now, Wallace, are you there? Oh, it's here. Welcome, Wallace.
Hi, Bernardo. I'm here. Sorry for the delay.
Well, I introduced you, and you can start the presentation. Wallace, the research of Wallace is really important. That study how the favela people, the people who live in favela, and how this collective landscape are made by that people. So, Wallace, you can start when you.
Yeah. Okay. Okay, are you seeing?
Yes.
Minutes. Well, my name is Wallacy Coelho. I'm an architect, and I'm doing my master's in landscape architecture. My research is about the transforming favela landscape and the potentials of this for the green infrastructure. And so this is the city of Rio, and this is the location of the Maré Favela Complex. And this complex now today is formed by 16 communities on the edge of the Guanabara Bay, and most of these communities are flat. So these communities were occupied through the years by self-construction and land field, the agents land field, and the later the years of 2000 by the government by housing programs, and this occupation of the residents over the water occurs through the construction of the wooden house and called palafitas, which became nationally known. For my methodology, then I use a interdisciplinary chart between landscape architecture, history of urbanism, and urban law, geography, and ecology, where using the McCartney layered map analysis to arrive in my reference case, where I produced some different maps from the first one of the occupation made by population or by a subdivision agent or even by the state. Another layer of the maps are indicating the areas where the with occurrence of the flooding during the rainfall, and another one, the third one, indicating that the consolidated commercial centers in this community, and the overposition of these three maps made possible to identify my reference case, where I'm searching for an area occupied through the self-construction, where the flooding occurs, and outside the commercial centers, when the housing predominates and they are more transformed by the residents. Through the visits to the reference case, to the area, I made a diagnostic map where I identify the alleys. They are not possible to identify in official maps or Google Maps, and area of the waste disposal, and areas where we have the existing trees, and I made the botanical identification to understand better this landscape and how this process occurs. In this process, the representation of the landscape using the photography was not enough to represent such a complex landscape of meaning, and so I choose where the more representative to the culture. When I choose a more representative the painting, I'm using the painting as a more representative to the culture of the way they using and occupy this territory. I'm using the painting as a tool to understand better and comprehend and to analyze this territory and make an a near picture of this landscape. So I began to go to the communities, to the place that I choose to represent. They are more representative of this landscape, using my materials of painting. So I was using a watercolor, pastel chalk, and Indian ink that we call nankin. And this methodology proved to be a constant process where the observation changed my perception of space, which at the same time interfere of my representation of landscape, and allowed me to make a different observation of the place. So these are constant happen, and this process over transforming my perception and my observation and my representation. And through the visits, the reference case, oh, sorry, I'm sorry. And during this process, which it took about 14 minutes each, the landscape was apprehended in a multisensory way, through sight, smell, touching, and hearing, where I made 10 paintings on the side. And through the analysis of these paintings, it's possible to list the concepts of the rights of the city, landscape as a process, construction of the sense of place, and among others. And also using semiotic theory and to analyze the watercolor and the construction of meaning of these images. So in this methodology, allow the painting to reveal the potential of this landscape as place already appropriated by the residents, local landmarks and meeting areas, for example, and review the potential areas for the implantation of green infrastructure elements. In this way, the painting potentializing the existing transformative character of this favela landscape. So I'm using this painting for review where we can propose areas, potential areas for the green infrastructure. So we're talking about rain gardens, and this kind of intervention is in the small scale, the small scale of green infrastructure. And that's all.
Oh, thank you, Wallace. I don't know if I can say a little words. I think that some aspect that I'd like to remark that the Barber research is treat in the problem that is how these militia groups and this that we call the militia urbanism control the areas and dynamic of the housing production of these lands, and how the function of the local government are hijacked by these groups. And Wallacy is other perspective that his works show us how the landscape of the favela is also a landscape of resistance to the class that have to exist in the city, to take right to the right of the city. Of course, you have to exist in the city, and so that's why his research is also so beautiful and potential. So I will want to say thanks to my colleagues, and we will pass the word to Professor Jose or Professor Samantha to continue the debate.
Yeah, thank you so much. Thank you so much. I'm going to open it in a moment to the questions or comments of the students. But this has been great. There is probably, when you know about the cities in Brazil, about the urban history in Brazil, you know some things maybe from a more superficial level. But now in these presentations, we are seeing probably what currently, more contemporarily, people are studying, are knowing better the problems or the issues that you're facing, the militia groups and the relation with urbanism or green infrastructure that might be very contemporary issues. Those are very interesting topics. So it's been nice to hear from you. Maybe if I can maybe ask one question, and then I'll open it to the students. Could you maybe any of you talk about the interdisciplinary nature of your research? I think that's something that I know that in the laboratory you guys are trying to do. That's also maybe one of the main things that we're trying to do in CONURB, our research group. I see there are some connections in relation to the militias that you could think about in relation to urbanism and the role of government, how the government operates, how the government cannot operate or is somehow substituted by the militia groups. But there's also, for example, the connection between the using of painting in thinking the urbanism, which is something nice there, where I would like maybe the urban planners using more those kind of tools, so we can somehow catch the imaginaries of people when thinking about the city. And that's something that sometimes there is not that much, at least from my experience. So I would like to maybe just put that question like very openly, how you guys have worked with interdisciplinary methods or with other professionals. What were maybe the advantages of that, but also maybe the difficult part of working with a different discipline. Maybe you could speak a little bit of that on your experience, and then we can open it to also the questions of the students.
Well, in my research, I think that being in laboratory is it's great because I need to research and thinking how these groups make their power and dominate there, and they use a lot of tools of the law, and the group always help me for understand this kind of things. And there is a lot of connections with the public agents, like public defensors that work in these areas too. It's a great connection because besides that, there is a complicated space. There is a dangerous place. So, and it is research of a lot of a lot of views, like there is researchers from social service that look other aspects too, and it's too rich for our research. And artists, actually, there are inhabitants that use the art like the resistance, and all of that is material for us, you know. And I think is that the group is a great opportunity to make these connections. And I think that when we are studying this kind of things, I think I think we are all urbanists, I don't know, but we are always looking for a territory and always have a conflict. So always have a lot of agents, and it's important to see all this view of their view. I don't know if
before Wallace, just the LADU, as we call the law and the urbanism laboratory, is composed by researchers from many different academic formations. So we we can in this lab change a lot of different and interdisciplinary perspectives. So it's great to us to take the. I'm a sociologist, and I'm in a lab based in graduate program in urbanism. So that we work a lot with the normative constructions and and other concept that we call the legal pluralism. It's a concept from Herrera Flores. It's an important laws, juridical professor from Spain, and it's a legacy important to us in our lab to try to understand the social life, not only for the normative construction, but also by the social construction of the normatives. It's not just the legal construction, normative, formal normative. Well, we are talking also about a kind of informality, because it's the normative constructions of these groups, the social groups that we research. So it's an important perspective to us. And Wallacy, do you want to talk about these interdisciplinary layers of your work? Wallacy worked a lot with the semiotical theory, so I think you can talk a little more about it.
From my point of view, from my research, the interdisciplinary of these questions are totally necessary. So the LADU helps in that. So we are a group of different with different perspective, so different professions, and to understand better a territory, as on my case, the favela of Maré, they are made of a complex with so many layers of social questions, issues, and so many laws, issues, and social and problems and social issues. So, and in this territory, and the climate change also interferes. So I think nowadays we, like urbanists, have to thinking outside our boxes to understand better the complexity of the society and the complexity of the answers that we have to searching. So I think it's something like that. In my research, for example, I'm using the painting because we are very complex individuals, and we are not just urbanists and all of that. And I, as artist too, I'm a painting. So I'm using this tool for myself to understand better and to express better this landscape and how we can perceive this landscape with another eyes. And the painting using the painting for the potential of the painting to stimulate our imagination and see what we can do with this landscape, and see this landscape is already known by other factors like violence and other things. We can see a painter and how can I say, and see from out of our prejudice and see something with a less of we always saw this landscape. So the painting always has two, as art in general, this capacity, this potential to open our eyes to other things, to other sensations, to other imagination, other possibilities that sometimes we as users or residents of this city, of this society, we normally use it to see this landscape or this territory always like the same way. So I think the interdisciplinary can bring some point of views and some possibilities, and can add a lot of in our work.
Thank you all of you for the comments. This is super interesting. So yeah, we'll open it up to the students of the seminar to any questions, comments, reactions to the presentations or curiosities that you might have. In the seminar, we are also going to work in some projects group by group, so it's going to be interesting for them to maybe engage with some of the work that you are also doing. So yeah, we can maybe begin with Patricio. So Patricio, please.
Yes, thank you, and hi everyone, and thank you, Barbara and Wallace, for your explanations about your work. I have to say that I am very surprised about this concept of militia urbanism. Until today, I wasn't familiar with this concept, and I think it's very interesting to understand in how these informal mechanisms of powers appears in different countries in different particular ways here in South America. In this case, for example, here in Lima, Peru, we don't have exactly this kind of operations, but we are very familiar with these mechanisms that Barbara said about, For example, the financial operations through formal credit, and such as by these criminal or groups which tries to occupies and tries to mercantilize. I don't know if this is the right word. The informal, no, with no title lands in the hillsides of our capital city. And yes, this is my commentary, and I am very curious about the work of Wallace in this kind to intention to understand the the opportunities that the favela landscape has to insert this green infrastructure. This is my curiosity, because I want to understand in which way do you apply this knowledge that you recollect in these frames of paintings, and what is the next process to understand the possibilities that you find in these pictures to I don't know how to say, but it's like to understand it, to apply it in your project of in your project of urbanism. What I'm trying to say is these perspectives are I think, I am assuming that is a preliminary process to the next process to intervene in these kind of situations. So your scale of do you have such as an indicators or a scale of value in these pictures to determine which places are most possible to make this project, something like that. And thank you all for hearing me.
Thank you, Patricio. Yeah, maybe we can go first with you, Wallacy, and then we can go to Barbara or the others.
And as I say, I'm working on that, to identify the potentials areas and the potential signs on the paintings. So one of them is, where are the areas where the residents already are occupied of, on the way, on the street, on the alleys, areas that are already occupied, and where are the housings where the people of the residents that are living there in this house are already we called like a green taste, or they are green allies or something like that. So these houses are potentially where we can implant or intervene just in front of this house, like with a rain garden or with something like that, with planting a new tree or something like that, because we know that these residents will care about this garden. So when I did the identification of the existing trees in this place, I noticed that all the trees are remaining in this space that was all trees before the occupation. No, all the trees that remains are carried by a resident. So an old man or an old woman that rely with the kids to don't play with, don't damage the tree or don't damage the plants. And this kind of perception that are expressed on the paintings or or express or the experience that I lived there when I was painting. The residents come to me and start to talk to me because there's something that they never saw in this street, something sitting there and painting something. So the return of the community was a lot of more that I was waiting. So they start to talk about the history of this house or the problems. They offers me water or coffee, and start to talking about when the rain comes and the problems that they have, and all of these contribute on my perception and transform my representation and my observation for this place. So the potential that I am searching for, they are not only expression on the pictures, but also expression is the paintings expression themselves, but the experience that I lived in each displays contribute, and the history of how this territory become what they are today. So it's a lot of process that signs the potentials that I'm searching for.
Thank you.
Thank you. Very interesting. I don't know if you want to comment, Barbara, on a little bit on the question.
Yeah, I will make just small comments. Patricio, your commentary is great, because this question always comes to me when I'm doing my research, because this is a common phenomenon in the Latin America. It's a recurrent. Of course, each place have this particularity, but it's something that that happens in our territory. I think that this could be because of our process of colonialism, the process of imperialism that is current today. In our case, in militia, this process is related a little with international market of the guns and the industry of the vigilance, and these groups grows a lot in the World Cup, Olympics Games, because all these techniques of violence and guns has come to here, and they had a lot of other technology of violence, and this gave more power for these groups, so they could occupy this place and grow up so fast. And I think this could be related with our similarities.
Thank you, Barbara. Do you want to add something, Bernardo, or should we go to the next question?
I just want I would be
Sure.
short commentary, but I just want to say that the Wallacy research is really powerful, because he used the beauty as a tool of resignification and of humanization of a landscape that stigmatized. I don't know, he has a lot of stigmas, and this is a important thing, a part of the research, because in Brazil, the informality, the urban informality, for a lot of people is a problem, but the favela is and was and still is a solution of the habitational problem. So I think it's really powerful. The use of the paintings is really powerful because it brings us this beauty as this kind of tool to have signification and to show us how this collective production of the landscape is not the landscape planned by the local government with these big urban projects. The landscape of the resistance. I think it's a really important part of his research. So I just want to, I don't know, how do you say this? Well, I think Paulo Gutierrez want to make an answer.
Yeah, I think thank you for Bernardo and all of you. That was really interesting, and I think like the nicest thing is that either Patricio or others in the seminar can also start to explore some of those methodologies or ways of knowledge production that maybe are not that much in the mix, but they should be, I think. So that's really nice. Maybe we can go now to Emily, to the next question, Emily. So please.
Yes, teacher. I have a question. As a urban planner, how was the difficult to work with the community?
Right, and you mean in any of the cases or in general?
In the case of the investigation, I don't know. I don't remember.
Right. Yeah, no, I think that's useful, and I think Wallacy has already spoken a little bit of that, but I think that's a question that is usually in the core of any intervention or any idea or any project in a city, how you're working with the community, how much you're bringing things from your perspective as an urbanist or as an architect, and how much you're taking from also the knowledge of any community. So either Barbara or Wallacy, maybe you can speak to us a little bit how you managed to do it in your projects, or what also were the challenges of having some input of the communities with which you were working. So yeah, I think it will be interesting to hear from you.
For my on this community that I work, the Maré complex, and especially the Baixa do Sapateiro. It's a community of the Maré complex where I'm studying case and my reference case. So in this community there are many strong forces there. The church and the church as organization is a strong one, and the public institutions like schools or something like that. So we in my research I identified these two as two strong partners that we have to have on our side to add some strength and some influence on the neighborhood, so we can spare the techniques and the solutions or the results of these interventions as a good alternative. We need the church, the approval or the help or the partner with the church, and the schools or the network and of the schools and ONGs and all these institutions that have some force or some influence in this territory. So we can talk with the when I was painting, I was talking to the residents there, and they are showing me the problems and where what they have to, what they want to talking about, or what they want to change, or something, some problems. So we as urbanists have to take these inputs of the residents and try to make this network with the schools, the network of schools, the network of the religions, on the church, or all these strong elements of this neighborhood, or maybe some stores, or some small shops, local shops, or something like that, to understand better how we can intervene or something like that. But I think we're trying to talking about, or trying to do some urbanism that is know it top to bottom. So we first talk with the residents, and so then we are knowing the problem, and we are searching for solutions.
So in my case, it's a little harder to be there. Be the research directly with the community. I have to, I don't know, to make some way to be there. Like once I went there with one public defense, and I was there with as an intern, but I wasn't an intern. I'm just pretending, because for the people accept me there, and it's a little scared, because we notice that it's always someone watching you, and the people are a little strange. But because of that, I have to think another ways to do my research. So I'm always researching the people of the public defense, public agents, the newspaper is to the one way, and there is too some local groups that fight against the domain of the militia, the domain of the militia, so we can be in contact too, and try to be there in some opportunities, but it's a little more complicated. But there's a way, and I think this is an important thing to do. I think we have to be there, but with more carefully, not so openly. You know?
Thank you. So we have a couple of questions, I think, Joaquin and Julissa. So maybe I will propose, maybe we can take both questions of Joaquin and Julissa, and do that last round of questions before we finish the time. So maybe first Joaquin, and then Julissa, please.
Okay, so thank you very much for your presentations. before doing my questions, I would like to make a disclaimer that I'm not as interdisciplinary as you. I'm a law student, so I have two questions. The first is very like legal approached, and is to Barbara. In Peru, at least, from the legal perspective, there is a division between criminal and administrative law, and that division is drawn because of the level of risk that some action could have in society. So as you are talking about militia, I would like to know, like, how how important or how effective could be an administrative approach as urbanism for this kind of activities, since these activities are already in the criminal aspect. Because some criminal lawyer could say that you as administrative lawyers or administrative technicians, so to speak, you cannot interfere in this kind of activities because the level of protection of rights is higher, and because you need a better standard to interfere in these cases. So when you were talking about militia, I was like constantly thinking, oh, okay, so how urban planning is gonna tackle like an armed group, you know, like something that can directly tackle police forces, and is that the risk that police forces already have like fear of interfering in those areas? So that's one question, and I'm not expecting like the legal completely perspective, but I would like to know a little bit. And my second question is for Wallacy, and I would like to know, you have already mentioned a little bit, but as I understand, like you're not trying to necessarily bring a public policy, but you are trying to interfere directly with the communities, so the communities are self-aware of their space. So I would like to know if that's the correct perspective, and also what is the motive of these green areas and green infrastructure perspective, since you have mentioned that there is a climate change component, but I also have noticed that in your presentation that there is a lot of like education focus, in the sense that having green spaces also contributes to like cut off the growing of in like criminal groups, or it furthers education and communal activities. So I would like to know that, like the focus, and what are the object or the agent of your perspective, since if it is the community or if it is the government, so they can implement policies. Thank you.
Thank you, Joaquin. Julissa?
Yes, I was wondering more for the fact that how you and the information that has been collected for this position about, you mentioned that it's an interdisciplinary kind of thing, and you mentioned public agents and social services that regulate this information and give it to you for make all these statistics. But I know that there are a public representation here and there are private representation. I want to know if you know which group of this one has a better relation with the favelas and how they achieve it, or which one has an accurate information that you have to regulate in the past or now, or you mean as the actors that has been going to regulate information.
When you mention public representation and private representation, you mean if it's the government who has collected information better, or if it's
private
groups or NGOs, or what did you mean by public
I mean that if it's the government who goes and regulates information and has a good relation with the people in the favela, or is the private sector as ONGs and all these kind of aspects, it has a better relation because they are not connected to the government.
Right. Interesting. Yeah. Sure, yeah. So there are some questions there. I think we can maybe go each of them, or maybe just a general comment by all of you. And I know that sometimes we're talking about more legal things and we are more in the architecture, and also vice versa. So yeah, maybe I'll just give it a round of interventions to our guests. So yeah, I don't know if anyone of you wants to begin.
Well, first, how the urbanism interferes in camp, interferes in illegality. I think that in my case, the militia acts in the lack of the public intervention. So because there is a necessity of service or housing for this population, the militia is there and build and give this population a lot of service. And I think that people are present and I don't know, do more projects from these areas could be one way to interfere. And other ways could be the I don't know, but think better about the group of the laws that that is in their territory, you know, because the militias use a lot of law tools to appropriate these areas, and this is possible because there is some laws that allowed this type of the things. Of course, there is a crazy interpretation and a lot of ways to do that, but this happens. I think that could be that, but it's a hard question, and I think it's the main question because it's hard. Because the militia is the state, the militia is on the power. Our president is a miliciano president, so it's hard to interfere that. And is that one points of my question, of my research, and that makes all more complicated. But is that. And the relation with the favelas, the public agents in the favela. Well, about the militian agents, we know who they are. Like I said, our president is one of them. And we know the relation. We know that they interferes in the law. They interferes in our urban plan. And make make the ceiling, you can say. And in 2008 was CPI, how can I say that? an investigation about the militia, and a lot of people gone to prison, but they keep growing up. So they have I should say that they have a great relationship, unfortunately.
Well, I will talk a few words. The association of the militia groups and the political groups are so strict that we have, as Barbara said, the president has a lot of connection with these groups.
Right.
And if exists a really important function of the urbanism and of the urban planning is the capacity to restrict the formation of the urban space and the urban sprawl. So when we are talking about these public areas and the influence of these groups, we exists a kind of transfer to the function to control these territories. So we think it's a security problem. So we have, how can we fiscalize, make some efficiency in fiscalization, urban fiscalization in this area. So of course, we have recently we had a sad episode when one build with como andares, no sé cómo se dice.
Four stories building.
Or 4 stories building, simply get come down with, because the parameters of the construction was irregular and parameters. So it's a really problem. It's a huge and really a challenge that we have, because we have the control of more and more the controlled areas of from these groups and the association with the political groups. And so it's a other complex of the other layer of complexity to understand the urban dynamics of the city of the Rio de Janeiro. It's really recent. We have some documents, and we can pass to you after our meeting. So it's a really important theme, urban theme right now, the militia urbanism that we call it. So
right. Yeah, and also to what Patricio was saying, like, or Joaquin was saying, it's actually it will be very limited to have a criminal law approach to these things. You need to have like a larger understanding of the social things that are going on there, and like knowing you said it, the social construction of some normativities or normative orders that are there. That's a larger thing than just thinking things in punishment in terms of criminal law. So that's very key to the problem. So yeah, very interesting. Yeah, I don't know if some last comments or any other comments or reactions to the questions of the students. We're close to the time that we had, but maybe we have some time to some last remarks by our guests, or if not, Wallacy.
Yeah, asking the last questions. As Barbara said, that the lack of the intervention of the statement or the government in these areas, in this territory, and the necessity of housing to the population brings a high density of occupation in these territories. So we have, with this high occupation and self-construction and all of this kind of occupation, we have in my area, in my case, a lack of green areas. So a lack of areas of recreation and bigger areas to big common areas. So this lack of areas, of green areas, all of this impacts on the quality of the urban quality, on the quality of life of this population. So my goal is work with the community to bring them some green areas, or present them how we can think about solutions on the small scale, and to bring them a better green areas or better quality of life. So I'm choosing these areas because this territory, because the potential of the transforming landscape. So well, on the outside these favelas, on the rest of the city, we usually here in Rio and Brazil, we do not we are not allowed to transforming our landscape. We receive our house and our neighborhood as someone planned this house, this neighborhood, this street, and we are not allowed to modify and transform this landscape. So this is completely different on this favela. So where the collective of the residents transforming themselves, their own landscape. They are like it's a process, so they are transforming like piece by piece this own landscape. So that is where I saw the potential of the green infrastructure on the small scale in this area, because if some green infrastructure can be successful, they can be shared in this population that transforming themselves this landscape and replicate these solutions. So the gains and the benefits of this implantation of these green areas, of these greens, rain gardens, for example, can be perceptive, and we can do a better benefits and better solution for the problems that they are facing nowadays.
Thank you, Wallacy. So maybe Samantha, you want to make some closing remarks, perhaps, to close out the session?
Yes, first of all, thank you so much for coming here, for your presentations and for the conversation. I think I would like to highlight a few of the things that have come up today that I think are very interesting to some of the conversations we're having throughout the course. First is the role of interdisciplinarity and having these different like perspectives of the research you're conducting, and pairing this with also in a way like different ways of knowing and different ways of gathering data and information, and this related to the different approaches you are taking towards the research projects you are conducting, both based on the context, but also regarding security, and also based on the complexity of the research questions that you're asking. No, so I think it's very, very interesting that how these questions that maybe when you first mention the questions or the topic, they may seem that like they are potentially straightforward in a way, but once you start doing the research, the complexity of these different topics and the multiple layers that become a part of this research that can be unpacked and addressed from different perspectives and thinking about it from different ways. I think it's very interesting. And I think the last thing that I want to mention is also this what you were talking about, this relationship between sort of formal and informal power. So we have the state, which is the quote unquote formal power in a country or in a specific geography, but also all these different interventions from different groups that also exert power and or maybe related to this quote unquote formal power or the government in different ways, and how they play a part in these different spaces, favelas, informal areas, in different ways than they may act in the more quote unquote formal city or the legal city or the more ordered city. So I think some of those questions and topics that came out are very interesting, in also some of the work that we will be doing with the students in what we have in the weeks that we have left in the semester. So I think that was very productive. Jose Carlos, I don't know if you want to add maybe something else.
No, I think that's it. And there are plenty of topics that we want to still keep talking. So yeah, I'm sure this won't be the last occasion to do it. And hopefully at some point we can also either visit Rio, or you guys can also come to Peru and visit us. So thank you very much, Bernardo, Rosangela, Barbara, Wallacy, for joining us today. And you sent us a couple of papers as well, so I'm gonna share them with the students, so we can also practice our Portuguese reading them.
Well, I just want to say thank you again for this opportunity, and if you, of course, it's to us it's a great honor to be here and establish this bridge with you guys, and we hope to receive you when you will be in Rio de Janeiro. I hope the political elections right now that we are suffering with minute by minute. So we are thinking we have a great victory in this national election. And so, well, I will pass the word to the Rosangela Cavalazzi. We will talk in Portuguese or Spanish, really despacito para encerrar la sesión. So, muchas gracias y thank you so much.
Muitas graças. Espero que Bernardo possa fazer a versão, mas obrigado pelo interesse e principalmente pelo engajamento nas pesquisas que estamos realizando, especialmente com Bárbara e Wallacy, e tenho certeza que esse diálogo, que foi muito produtivo, deve continuar no futuro, não só no Rio, mas aí e em outros países que estão aqui também presentes. Obrigado. Gracias.
Obrigado. E força para for the 30th election. Crossing fingers.